Hello everybody and welcome back to Ant Holleufer. Today we are unboxing a new exotic species called Novomessor Cockerelli. So this species is something I've been looking forward to get for a while, but I don't know, I thought I'd get it. So let's start the video and let's unbox this colony. So this right here is the new package from Ant Davy, and of course, like in almost every single one of my unboxings, I couldn't really figure out how to get the correct way in. But pretty quickly I entered the package, and the first thing I was greeted with was a little pipette, and then of course the Ant Davy logo and a little card where he just says where his social media and how to contact him. With that all out of the way, we can now see all of this yellow paper, and that is also one of the things Ant Davy is known for. All of this yellow, that's kind of his color. So inside of this bubble we have the ants, and this right here is the glass with the ants. And while I unboxed this, I actually thought this was the last thing, but I had a little bit more in the package. So underneath the ants we had a little box with Biformica liquid feeders. And this was a nice little surprise, and I guess it's just Ant Davy's way of saying thank you. I guess. Thank you, at least whatever the reason is. Thank you, Ant Davy. I've always wanted these liquid feeders, but I've just been a little bit too greedy to get some. But right here they are, a little card from Biformica, and then we have the liquid feeders. So these feeders come in a very nice little secure place, because the glass where you put the water inside is actually made of glass. Many of these feeders are made of plastic, but this is actually made of glass. And these are also the smallest size Biformica liquid feeders. That's a whole thing to say. But yeah, thank you Ant Davy for that little extra gift. Let's look at the ants. So for some reason, I don't know if I unboxed this whole package upside down or what happened, but the ants are upside down. So my camera of course didn't want to focus, but as you can see they are living on top of the cotton, and the text with the Novomessor Cockerelli thing, I'm still not sure how to say that, is also upside down. So this whole nest is upside down for some reason. And I was just sitting here like, how am I gonna get these ants out? Because that's the whole thing. So I tipped it on its side and slowly let the colony rework itself to this kind of on the side look. And this is the first look of the colony. So as you can see on the bottom, we have a worker that is pretty handicapped or something, because it just... I was pretty sure that this worker had been handicapped because it was born during the shipment or the trip or whatever. But as I see later, this is actually just a worker mid-enclosing. So this worker is not handicapped, it's just in the middle of enclosing to its worker stage. So after I tipped them to their side, I a bit later tipped them so they would stand like it should stand. And while the ants were getting used to standing like they needed to stand, I decided to go out and make a little DIY outworld, because I didn't have any connectors that would connect this large tube. So I hooked the outworld up to a high-tech ants founding nest in the 3D version. I did a video about that a while back. You can check it out, link in the top right corner. So just to make it extra dark, I put a little bit of tinfoil on top. I also gave the ants a little bit of honey and a chopped up mealworm. And with that out of the way, I took out the cotton ball, and a larvae immediately fell out. And I just watched. So the workers came very quickly and was immediately surprised by this new environment. This is the first time they have this Danish smell. They are used to the smell from Ant Davy, so it's, first of all, it's their own little ecosystem smell inside the nest, and second of all, they were used to the Ant Davy smell. So when I opened this, I was actually very surprised to how calm they were. Normally the workers would just rush all around the place. These workers were actually very calm for a colony that's just been ripped open, at least. And suddenly the queen was also over, smelling this new place. though she decided that this definitely wasn't her place to be, and she walked back. So slowly the workers decided to go out and forage a little bit. I saw that they immediately didn't go over to the tinfoil, so I turned it around and pushed it a little bit closer so they would see this hunting and food for them, so they hopefully would start eating, and it did exactly what I had planned. A worker immediately got over and started feasting on the mealworm, and pretty soon it was over feasting on the hunting. So this was exactly what I had planned, because now they are in the outworld and feeding. I would have liked to feed them inside the test tube, but I knew that with the cotton and the larvae being stuck on the cotton, I would have to move them into outworld right away, because else this larvae could be squashed when I took the cotton in and out. But as you can see, a worker finally decided to go over and grab the larvae and couldn't find its way back. So the larvae got a little bit of a trip. But inside the test tube I was still really impressed for how calm all the ants were. The queen was once again a little bit curious, but she decided to stay back and just wait for pheromones to spread. So the way the ants discover the nest and tell the queen to move in is by them, of course, searching the environment. And slowly but surely, some of the ants will go into the nest and find out that this is a dark place and this is a nice place. And when they are inside the nest and it's a dark and nice place, they will start to spread these "this is a good place" pheromones. And when these pheromones are spread, other workers will also discover the place because they can smell "this is a good place", and therefore they will enter it. And the more smell there is and pheromones there is, the more the colony will approve of this new nest, and then they will slowly move in. So I got my chance to finally take out the cotton and take the rest of the brood out of the cotton and put it inside, and this is how the setup now looked. So I was very surprised by how many workers I was actually feeding on the honey and the mealworms. I had expected this, but still every colony reacts differently to being taken apart. And this was now how the colony looked, and I decided that now I would take the colony over to the ant shelf, heat up the nest, and let them be. So while I edited this video, I recorded a little bit of the workers and how many workers there was around foraging. And to my surprise, all the workers was almost out of the nest. And only around 1 hour later, the queen was gone, and I checked and she was now inside the founding nest. So this was just so amazing. She had also a little bit of brood and some of the newly enclosed workers. And all of this just happened so quick, and I just couldn't imagine how great this move had been. Around 30 minutes later, the last pupae was taken inside, and with that being taken inside, I would now take out the test tube. And this is now their outworld. So I also put in one of the Biformica liquid feeders to give them a water source, and of course watered the nest. The next day, all the workers had settled inside the nest, and this couldn't have gone better. All the workers just walked inside the nest, and yeah, this was just such a perfect move. I've had so many problems with moving in my ant keeping time, and this was just such an easy move. They just moved. That's the good thing about when colony needs heat, because I heated up the nest so the colony would move in, and it just works perfect. For not tropical species that don't require heat, it is a lot harder to make them move. But with this colony, I just heated the nest up and they moved in straight away. Though when I decided to record them, the ants did go out and forage a little bit. I think they were a little bit scared that there was suddenly light inside their new perfect nest. But yeah, a few minutes later, this was now the look, and they were pretty calm once again. So this colony now has 8 workers, and I don't know what to say. I'm just so happy that this move went so smoothly. As I said before, I have had so many bad movings over my ant keeping time, and I just didn't expect this to go so smooth with the whole giant test tube and just the whole thing, but it just went so smooth, and I couldn't have been happier. And inside the nest, the workers were just starting to settle in. So what's very fun with this species is, as you can see, they have dragged in a little mealworm head, and that's because this species don't have a very big social stomach, and therefore they are often required to take the food into the nest to consume it and give it to the larvae, because their stomach aren't that big, so therefore they can't just feast outside and go in and give the food to the larvae. So I was very happy to see that they actually took a head and dragged it into the nest, because that's just exactly what I had expected, and they just did what I expected, which is very nice. So this right here is the queen, and as you can see, she's just so beautiful, and she really looks like a fire ant species, though this species is more related to Myrmecia than fire ants, but she still has a lot of fire ant queen over her. But if we look at the workers, they are nowhere near fire ants, but I just thought it was quite funny. So the reason some of the ants are this orange color instead of this dark red is when a worker enclosed, its exoskeleton isn't that hard, and therefore it's kind of this see-through color. And what's quite funny is that this worker has probably been enclosed a few days ago, and this worker on top of it is the worker we saw enclosed yesterday. And as you can see, it is this really see-through color, and after a few days it will turn the same light orange as the other worker, and after around a week it will be this dark red color. So it was quite funny that I saw all of these three workers just sitting right next to each other. So this right here is the brood of the colony, a nice little pile of eggs and larvae. So I tried to show this before, but on the top of the screen where we have a worker right now, you can see this kind of weird exoskeleton trash. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I think that is a worker that failed doing its, I don't know, enclosure, or maybe just haven't been developed correct. I don't know, guys, let me know what you think it is in the comments below. I think it's just a failed worker, but I don't know why they haven't taken it outside the nest. I guess we'll just have to see what happens to it. So we are now on the third day of keeping the Novomessor colony, and I just remembered that I had completely forgot to feed them some seeds. So I brought out my camera and just recorded them on the ant shelf, as I didn't want to disturb them more than necessary. And then I noticed that one of the workers was just carrying a larvae around. So as you can see, there's now 2 water towers, one with water and one with sugar water. And I don't know if the worker is trying to feed the sugar water or what it's doing, but it's just carrying around this larvae. And I don't know, I just thought you should know. Sorry. But zoomed out once again, I was now ready to bring in the seeds, though I didn't quite know where to put them, because the workers, there were now 3 workers around in the outwall, kind of just scattered a little bit around, but I saw my place and put down the seeds. So these seeds are a little bit of grass seeds and a little bit of bird seeds. Now I have been recommended not to use bird seeds in the future, but I just had a little bit of bird seeds, and I just thought, you know, I'm gonna give them a lot of grass seeds and a little bit of bird seeds just to see how they react. The bird seeds are these large seeds, so I don't think they're gonna take them either way. But I just had a little storage container and I couldn't quite sort it out, and I thought, you know, the ants can sort it out. So the ants seemed pretty interested in these seeds. They were at least walking on top of it, at least this worker wasn't just kind of checking it out. But to my surprise, not really much action. So, as I often do, I kicked off a 1-hour time lapse. And this is the result. So what's very funny in my eyes is that there's just so much action for a 8 worker colony. I mean, look at how many workers we have out. Like, it's 1 to 2 workers all the time almost. And also just in general, every time I look at them, there's 1 worker walking about. So that's really different from some of my other colonies, as they just don't do it. But this colony really loves to explore in comparison to their size. So after my 1-hour time lapse, I noticed that they didn't really care that much about the seeds. So I took a little bit of the seeds and dragged them outside the ball just to see how they reacted. And now they really reacted differently. At least they started picking up the seeds and going around with the seeds. So in my eyes, this was definitely improvement of just ignoring the seeds. I don't know. So especially this one worker right here was really interested in just checking out all the seeds, especially this large sunflower seed, I think it is. But you know, they will never be the correct size to carry that. But look at this. It's now taking one of the grass seeds. And I didn't see this in the first time lapse, though this worker seems to be going the wrong way. It just had to go over there, I guess. So I decided to go over to the seed ball and take a little bit more of these grass seeds out. And you know what I did then? Kickstarted another time lapse. So ladies and gentlemen, once again we have a time lapse, and we immediately had 3 workers going around. And only about 10 minutes into the time lapse, we had 5 workers out of an 8 worker colony walking about and checking out all of these seeds. And I'm not sure how many of them they took, but I could just see they touched pretty much all of them. So they were definitely interested. Also, once again, because we had 5 workers walking about, so definitely something of interest in their eyes. But I guess we just have to wait to see what they'll do next. So yeah guys, that has been it for this video. Thank you Ant Holleufer for those liquid water feeders by Formica. Still pretty weird saying that. And yeah, I'm really excited to keep this species. For now I can see they have taken these seeds, I gave them and just put it in that tube. So I don't know if they need some kind of substrate to kind of block off their nest entrance, because right now they haven't taken them inside the nest, but just taken a lot of seeds and put them in the tube. So I think that's kind of their way of saying we would like some substance to put in the tube so it isn't as big of an opening. But yeah, I tried feeding them without a tinfoil dish and they really just took a lot more of these mealworm heads and chopped up parts. So I'll definitely try to do that more in the future. And with that being said, that has been it for this video. So yeah guys, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in another video.